This is George Miller, 68 years old, Vietnam veteran, living alone in a small town in Montana. Every Christmas, George sits alone. No family, no visitors, just memories. But 10 years ago, George made a decision that changed everything. He became Santa Claus. Not at the mall, not for money, for real. This is his story. George Miller wasn't always alone. 40 years ago, he was Private First Class George Miller, United States Army, Vietnam. He was 19 years old when he deployed. Vietnam changed him. The things he saw, the things he did, the friends he lost. He came home in 1971 with medals and nightmares. PTSD, before it had a name. For years, George struggled, but he built a life. Married Mary, 1975, had 2 kids, Sarah and Michael, worked at the lumber mill. Quiet life, small town Montana. George didn't talk about Vietnam, tried to forget, but the nightmares never stopped. Everything collapsed. Mary got sick, cancer, stage 4. She fought for 2 years. George watched her fade, helpless. She died on Christmas Day, 2012. George was 62 years old, lost. His kids had moved away, Sarah in Seattle, Michael in Denver. They visited sometimes, but they had their own lives. George was alone. Every Christmas after that, George would sit in his house, empty, quiet. The tree they used to decorate together, gone. The stockings Mary hung every year, packed away. Christmas became the hardest day of the year, the day Mary died, the day George felt most alone. December 2014, George was at the grocery store, 2 days before Christmas. He was buying the basics, frozen dinner, coffee, nothing special. At the checkout, he heard crying. A little boy, maybe 6 years old, tears streaming down his face. His mother, young woman, early 30s, was trying to calm him. "It's okay, sweetie. Santa will come, I promise." But George heard what she said to the cashier. "Can you put the toys back? I can only afford the groceries." The little boy didn't understand. "But Mommy, Santa won't have anything to bring." The mother was holding back tears. "Santa will figure something out, baby." George watched, his heart breaking. He remembered his kids, when they were young, how excited they'd get for Santa, how Mary would make sure there were gifts, no matter how tight money was. "Every child deserves Christmas," Mary always said. George made a decision. He approached the cashier, quietly. "Add her toys to my bill." The cashier smiled, scanned them. George paid $78. The mother didn't notice. She was focused on her son. George left, quickly, didn't want attention. But as he walked to his car, he felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Purpose. About Christmas morning. Would there be gifts? George had an idea. At 10 p.m., he went to Walmart, bought a Santa suit, $35. Then he bought toys, a truck, action figures, a stuffed bear. He remembered the mother's address. He'd overheard her tell the cashier for delivery, 21 Pine Street. George drove there, midnight. The house was dark, small, old, paint peeling. George put on the Santa suit, felt ridiculous. He left the toys on the porch, knocked, ran to his truck. He watched from down the street. The mother opened the door, saw the gifts, gasped. She called her son. The little boy came running. "Santa came. Mommy, Santa came." The boy was jumping, screaming with joy. The mother was crying. George watched, tears in his own eyes. For the first time in 2 years, George smiled. That Christmas morning, George woke up different. The house was still empty. Mary was still gone. But George felt lighter. He'd helped someone, made a child happy. Mary would have been proud. George made a decision. Next Christmas, he'd do it again. December 2015, George asked around town, quietly, "Anyone know families struggling this Christmas?" People gave him names, 5 families. George bought gifts for all of them. He used his savings, $400 total. Christmas Eve, Santa suit on. George delivered to all 5 homes, knocked, ran, watched. Every child's face lit up. Every parent cried with relief. George felt alive. Someone's playing Santa, leaving gifts for poor families. The local newspaper wrote about it. Mystery Santa brings Christmas to struggling families. George didn't come forward, stayed anonymous. But the town started helping. People donated, money, toys, food. They left donations at the church for Mystery Santa. George collected them, added his own money. That year, he delivered to 20 families. Someone saw him, recognized his truck. The newspaper interviewed him. "Mr. Miller, why do you do this?" George was quiet, then spoke. "I lost my wife on Christmas. For years, I hated this day. But then I saw a kid crying because his mom couldn't afford toys. And I remembered, Christmas isn't about me, it's about them. Every kid deserves to believe in Santa. Every parent deserves to see their child smile. I can give that, so I do." The interview went viral. Donations poured in. From across the country, $50,000 in 1 month, George delivered to 50 families. But it wasn't just him anymore. Other veterans joined, wearing Santa suits, delivering together, George's Santas. That's what they called themselves. 10 veterans, all with their own struggles, PTSD, loneliness, loss. But together they found purpose. One veteran, Tom, 72, said, "I was gonna end it, Christmas 2019. But then George called, asked if I wanted to play Santa. I said yes. Seeing those kids' faces, I remembered why I'm still here. COVID-19. Everything shut down. Families struggling more than ever. George refused to stop. These kids need Santa more than ever. 150 families. George and his team delivered. Masked, distanced, careful. They left gifts on porches, knocked, waved from distance. Children pressed faces against windows, waving at Santa. Parents cried, "Thank you, we had nothing this year." George raised $120,000 that year. Every dollar went to gifts, food, winter coats. Today, George Miller is 78 years old, still playing Santa. This past Christmas, 2023, George and his team delivered to 200 families. Over 600 children received gifts. The town built him a workshop, donated space. Santa's Workshop, George Miller Veteran Center. Veterans gather there, year-round, building toys, preparing. It's not just about Christmas anymore. It's about community, purpose, healing. But it's manageable now. When I'm Santa, I don't think about Vietnam. I think about the kids, the smiles, the hope. That's what saves me. His kids, Sarah and Michael, come home every Christmas now. They help deliver, wear elf costumes. "Dad, you found your purpose," Sarah said. "Mom would be so proud." George smiled. "I do it for her. Every kid I help, I think, this one's for Mary." 10 years ago, the door opened. A young man, early 20s. "Can I help you, Santa?" George recognized him, the crying boy from the grocery store. Now a man, college student, home for break. "You probably don't remember," George said, "but I left gifts here 10 years ago." The young man's eyes widened. "You're the Santa? The one who started this?" "Yes." The young man started crying. "You saved my Christmas. My mom was so stressed. We had nothing. But you came. And suddenly, I believed in magic again. I'm in college now, education degree. I want to be a teacher, because of you, because one person cared." George hugged him, both crying. "You're going to help so many kids, just like you helped me." George Miller doesn't see himself as a hero. "I'm just an old veteran with a Santa suit." But to 600 kids every Christmas, he's everything. To 10 veterans who found purpose with him, he's a lifeline. To a town that rallied around his mission, he's a symbol of community. George lost Mary on Christmas, but he found a way to honor her, by bringing joy to children, by helping families, by proving that one person can make Christmas magical. This year, George turned 79. He's already preparing for Christmas 2024. "As long as I can walk, I'll be Santa." His team has grown to 15 veterans. They're planning to help 250 families. The donations keep coming. And every Christmas Eve, George puts on the red suit, looks in the mirror, and sees Mary smiling back. "Every child deserves Christmas," he whispers. Mary's words. Now George's mission. This is the story of George Miller, the Vietnam veteran who became Santa Claus, the man who turned grief into giving, the soldier who fought in war, then fought loneliness with love. He lost his wife on Christmas, but he gave Christmas to 600 children every year. Because sometimes, healing doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from serving. George Miller proved that PTSD doesn't have to win, that loneliness can be defeated by purpose, that one person in a Santa suit can change a town, and that the best way to honor the ones we've lost is to live in a way that makes them proud. Mary would be proud, very proud.